A to the K.
To the K.
To the K.
Hello, one and all. Welcome to the A to the K Wrestling Show. Where joining us today is wrestling royalty, creating iconic looks for around 30 years across WCW, WWE, and AEW. The one and only Sandra Gray. Sandra, thank you so much for joining us.
You're very welcome. That's quite an interest. Wow. I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy.
You are. You're quite the guest.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we figured that we'd start, if we could, by sort of asking, I suppose, how you sort of discovered your love for sewing and sort of costume making, or design, if that's the more correct term. Is it something you always wanted to do, or?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I know that's going to be shocking to some people, but my love for sewing was quite accidental. I'm an Army brat, and I was just a wee teenager, and my mom won a sewing machine playing bingo on an Army base. And she bought this. She could pick whatever gift she wanted, and coffee pot, silverware, and a sewing machine. No one in my family sews, but it was the biggest gift on the table. So she decided, let me just take this sewing machine home. Like I said, no one sews. She bought this big gift home, put it on the kitchen table, and we just started messing with it. The next day, my sister, my mom, and me, we all started messing with the sewing machine, and it just stuck with me. So I had no desire, no anything at all. I never thought about it. I kind of thought I might have ended up being a teacher or a nurse or something like that. Never this. Never this.
I mean,
Never.
yeah, that's a hell of a journey. So how did you kind of go from being an Army brat who just kind of discovered a sewing machine one day to kind of entering the crazy world of professional wrestling?
It was in the summer when I got this machine, and when my mom bought this machine home, and I just started messing around with it, during the summer, and discovered, like I said, that thing clicked. So just started messing around and making stuff for myself and my friends and stuff like that. And by the time I was around 14 then, that's been a long time ago. Woo! Anyway, by the time I got into wrestling, it 100% found me. I wanted to do, once I learned how to do the sewing, I wanted to do bridal gowns and prom dresses and stuff like that. And I did years of that before I ever got into wrestling. And I was very, very good at it. So I called myself a fashion designer, because I was making wedding gowns and stuff like that. So anywho, I lived in Marietta, Georgia, and Rena Mero, who later became Sable. They lived pretty close to me, and it was deep in the middle of bridal and prom season, so I was covered up with prom dresses and busy. And I can remember she went to one of the local fabric stores. It was Joann's now, used to be called Cloth World back in the day. So she went there and asked the people who worked there, can you recommend somebody to make a costume for my boyfriend? And they gave her another lady's name and my name. We knew each other. We were friends, and we kind of helped each other out. And so they called her first, not knowing either one of us. They called her first, and she's like in the same situation as me. We're up to here in prom dresses and wedding gowns. She's like, I'm busy. I can't do it. Call Sandra. And so she called me. And when she said, make a costume for my boyfriend, I'm thinking, okay, what's your boyfriend doing? I don't really do costumes like that. I make wedding dresses. So she told me he was a wrestler, and I'm like, I don't know how to sew on spandex. And I honestly had never picked up a piece of spandex in my life. So I don't know the ins and outs, the ups and downs. I don't know. So I'm like, I don't think I'm going to be able to do it because I don't know how to do it. So she's like, can you please just help us out? We're in a bind and blah, blah, blah. Long story short, I accepted the challenge, and I made Johnny B. Bad. I don't know Johnny B. Bad. I'm not a wrestling fan. I don't know all of this stuff. So I make him a pair of trunks, and I had so many issues with it, trying to keep the spandex from ripping. I'm doing a regular stitch like I do on my bridal stuff. The thread would break the minute I pull it. I'm like, shit, I don't know what to do. So I ended up just sewing, trying to make it work. Gave it to him. It looked decent. I thought it was okay for my first time. Gave it to him. They thought it was okay. He wore it. And I can remember that night, it was so exciting when he was going to wear it because the show was going to be on TV. So my whole family came over. My mom, who had got this career kicked off and everything, she came and they were all there sitting on the sofa watching my work on TV for the first time. And someone grabbed him on the side of his trunk. You know how they grab you and put you up on the turnbuckle? They grabbed him on the side that I was having trouble and they yanked on it. And every last one of us stood up screaming. We were like, put him down, put him down. We were so afraid that it was going to break. It was going to break. So he yanked him up and put him on the thing. Nothing happened. It didn't break. We got through the match. It was so exciting seeing that for the first time. They were so proud of me and I was proud of myself that nothing broke. And after that, very soon after that, he called me to thank me for it. And that basically kicked off my wrestling career. Because after that, people started, I guess, asking who made your gear and who did this, and he passed my name along. And this was back in WCW. So I was literally sewing out of my little cul-de-sac, making these things. And I don't know all of these people. Just, I don't know them all right now. I'm not that familiar with wrestling. So that's how I got started. 100% accident.
That's amazing.
It was an accident. Yeah. It was fun, though. It was such a long time ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, as Carl mentioned, obviously at the beginning of the show, you've obviously worked with WCW, WWE, and most recently AEW, so three of the biggest companies in wrestling.
Yeah.
Can I just
I'm
ask
proud of that too.
Oh yeah,
I'm
no, definitely.
I'm pretty proud of that. Yeah, that's some Women's History Month stuff, okay?
Oh, definitely.
Because I will always be the only one who can say that.
Yeah.
So I'm feeling kind of proud. Huh?
Yeah, no, you should. Yeah, that's absolute legacy. So how have you found the sort of obviously because it must be a vastly different environment. So when it's sort of kicked off and you've ended up sort of like involved in the business to the point where you're backstage and you're heavily involved in the world of wrestling. How have you found the environments sort of in that sense and sort of comparatively? I mean, obviously for us, you could say, well, wrestling. The environment must be very similar, but did you find the WCW was vastly different to WWE and so on? Or
it's changed quite a bit for me. Going on the road with WCW for the first time, I absolutely had no idea what to expect. I mean, I went from sewing in my basement to going to be on my work on a live TV show and dealing with people, all these people and doing something kind of for the first time. So it was very for me, but I literally got to set up the whole entire wardrobe department. There was no wardrobe department at WCW before I got there. So I went on the road with my little sewing machine and everything I thought that I might need in case someone had an emergency or a last minute fix or something. I took everything with me. And I remember that day going there. They told me I think call time was 2:00. I don't know that I can get there an hour early if I want to. I'm thinking 2:00, I need to be on the dot. So I was in my rental car sitting in the parking lot waiting till it was about 5 minutes because I timed my walk to the door. Right at 2:00, I walked in. I could have been there earlier. I don't know anything. So I'm still a baby learning all of this stuff. But they assigned me this one gentleman that if I needed anything, he would make sure I was okay, found me a space to put my machine up and everything. So I'm like, an extension cord. This is crazy, but back then we had CD players, y'all. Okay, so I had some CDs with me. I didn't have a CD player, so I'm like, I need a nice little CD player, and I need a Prince CD. So he went and found it for me. I wasn't testing anybody. This is just what I wanted to make me comfortable in my workspace that I was creating, not knowing the scope of what I was really doing. I was just making myself comfortable. So he went and found it, and I came back, put the music on, set the machine up, and I started doing just little alterations or whatever. And everyone was so welcoming to me. Just having someone available to iron something if you had a few wrinkles or to fix your pants if you had a rip. That was, something new for them, for me to be backstage. So they totally just loved having me there. And they showed it to me. They were very kind, respectful, and I loved the atmosphere. It was great. It was great. It's good now. It's just that things just move a little bit more faster now. I know I can kind of anticipate things that may happen, which then everything was a surprise, because it was the first time for me. Everything was like, oh, wow, okay, okay. But now I'm like, I'm not antsy anymore. I'm calmed down. I know exactly what to do. I don't think there's anything that can happen that I can't take care of.
Yeah. I mean, as you said, all that experience with
yeah.
So obviously, this is potentially difficult. You've created some iconic looks, over your career. Can you kind of talk us through your process for doing that? Like, do you kind of come up with the ideas? The wrestlers come up with the ideas, and is there any particular favorites that kind of stand out for you over your career that looks that you've created?
I do love it. I really, really love it when they have an idea of what they want. And if they have a design that they can show me or tell me what they want, that's perfect for me, because my thing is, I'm always thinking I have to do whatever I can to make this exactly like what they want, give them exactly what they're wanting it to be. And that's where my skill set comes in. And so far, I've been able to pretty much get that done. I think my most iconic, one of my most iconic outfits, look at me, I've got so many. One of my most iconic outfits was WCW was doing the blood drip thing for Scott Hall back in the day. Yeah. And I never liked that outfit because I remember clearly looking back now, there was no internet to go to. I couldn't Google what the drips looked like or anything. So I had to just get what I thought it looked like. And it never really looked like a blood drip to me. It was like either too skinny here and too fat here. I never really liked what it looked like. And I had no clue that it would become so iconic. And we're still recreating that same exact look today that I didn't think looked like blood, but I guess it looks like blood to somebody because we're still doing it. Everybody's still doing that same look. So that was one of my most iconic. And it was fun to do that, but I was just drawing on a piece of paper,
So obviously over the years there's been a lot of advances and sort of innovations, I suppose, in sort of material technology and the likes of fashion, like obviously notably like Chris Jericho being just emblazoned with LEDs and that sort of thing. How has the sort of the change in sort of technology and the like affected your work over the years?
To me, I feel like I pretty much, by the way, the whole Chris Jericho thing, I had absolutely nothing to do with that. I love it though. Yeah. And I might have to, steal a little bit of that to use in one of my own costumes one day, but I have nothing to do with that. But to me, this is what my passion is. It's not only doing wrestling outfits. My passion is literally sewing, creating fabric and textures and everything in the realm of what to do with that to create a good garment. I love all of that. So I feel like I've adapted to the new fabrics, the new techniques, and I'm always still trying to learn different things. So when there was a new fabric, I remember when the shiny black vinyl came out, the vinyl fabric, it's everywhere now, but it was a few people who really wanted that to be their thing. I'm like, you really can't own a fabric. You can't. If I don't use it, another designer is going to use it. So, but I think I pretty much adapted to all the different techniques and stuff like that. And I'm still trying to find ways to do cool things and more creative things and present it to them and, to get that special look for what they're trying to achieve. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think obviously someone who comes to mind, especially in AEW with the kind of different iconic looks, is probably like Jade Cargill. Have you worked a lot with Jade on helping her come up with a lot of her?
I love Jade's look. Her gear is beautiful. However, I'm not the one that makes her gear. But if you see her maybe sometime in a sexy cat suit or something like that, a bodysuit, that would possibly be me. And I do love, she is one of the ones in particular that I love working with her, first of all, because her body is just magnificent. So how am I going to damn, she makes my work look good, So I love creating for her. And she, as far as her and my relationship, we lean more towards the fashion side more than the gear side. to me, who the people making her gear got it covered. They're doing an amazing job. I like the fashion side of it, and I'm looking forward to continuing on with her and working with her on some really cool fashion ideas. And I have my own that I want to put on her. So let's hope she's open to it. You know.
So obviously there is a sort of a very practical difference between obviously making a gown and making something for use in the ring.
Yeah.
So I suppose the question I suppose would be, have you ever sort of had either an idea or a suggestion from a wrestler that they'd like to do that just sort of logistically sort of couldn't work because of that sort of limitation of going, well, it needs to be able to be incredibly durable, or has that been an obstacle over the years?
No, not really, because if they have an idea of something and I'm like, well, I can just slightly make some changes sometimes without them even knowing it. So it's never been nothing significant.
Yeah.
But I just try to do the best I can to make adjustments. Like if something is going to be, for instance, I can't remember the character that Cody wore. It was WrestleMania. It was black and orange with all the little sprouts sticking out. And obviously I can't travel with this in my suitcase. So, but I still had to make this look. So I got the pieces together, put them in a suitcase flat so I can transport it. And then when I get there, get to work, I just build it out to make it do what it needs to do. But most of the time, I just try to do the best I can to make little adjustments to make it work, to get as close to what they want as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned before around Scott Hall and kind of the look design and things like that. Was there any other kind of examples when either you weren't happy with a piece that you kind of put out, or you wished, like in hindsight, that you'd done it a different way?
You mean like basically an outfit that haunts me to this day? I think an outfit that will always probably haunt me to this day. Actually, there's two. The first one would be from WCW. It was back in the 90s, and I made this cape for Johnny B. Bad, and it was for Halloween Havoc. And I was excited to do it, but we wanted to put like a spider on it. And so I'm so busy making this beautiful black and silver sequence cape and getting the points right, making the spider web and everything. Then comes the time to put the spider on it. So it's going to be sequence, a little puffy with the legs and all of that. So I'm like, don't remember, how many legs does a spider have? So I'm like, I think I couldn't remember. And I think it was 8. Somebody said 8. So I'm like, cool. So I put 8 legs on this side and 8 legs on that side. Either way, it ended up looking like a crab. It was the most hideous looking thing. I didn't think of this. It never dawned on me until afterwards, and when I saw it on TV. That looks like a crab or a bed bug or something. It was ridiculous, but it had 16 legs on it. It was crazy looking. But that, and there's still pictures out there. If you Google Halloween Havoc robes for him, you'll probably see that with a crab looking spider on it. And then the other one would have been in WCW, and it was back with it was outfit I made for the Funkadactyls. And I thought I was being innovative with this really cool kind of celery looking green sequence fabric for the girls. I thought it was really cool. But looking back, the way I made it, everything about it was just the ugliest thing. The fabric was just, it was just hideous looking. I mean, I just hate that it's out there in the atmosphere and somebody's going to probably go and find it. But it was just a hideous looking color. And I don't even know what I was thinking. But back then I was proud of my work. I thought it was great. And, you know, it just was a hideous thing. Those two things will probably always haunt me.
So this may be a difficult question, so apologies in advance. But are there any particular favorite wrestlers that you love creating designs for?
Now, I do love
during your career, I suppose.
Okay, I do love creating stuff for. I like it, and then I like it. MJF would be the first one off the bat because the very first robe. I remember sitting in catering the very first when we first started AEW, And I sat down with him, and I believe it was Wardlow, and we were talking about robes and stuff like that. And he mentioned that he wanted to eventually do something like the blood drips from Scott Hall. Now, he had no idea, but I'm listening to him talking. I'm like, I was the one that created that look, right? He was very surprised that I had done that. But I think the thing that I like the most about MJF is it always catches me by surprise, the color combination that he put together. Most of the time, especially that first one, I think was like a baby pale pink with a puke green or something. And I still had to make this work with Burberry. Everything has to work with Burberry. So I'm always holding my breath and literally cringing, waiting for the next thing. Because I don't know, how can I make this look good? And this man is trusting me to put this together and to make it work. And I'm like, it just doesn't go together. It's not going to look good. I know it's not, but I have to do it anyway. So I just try to hunker down and make it happen. And so far, I've been able to pull it off. And I don't think he's hated anything. But that first one, I was like, oh, God, there's no way I'm going to be able to do this. So when he says to me, you ready for the next color? I'm literally holding my breath, thinking, what am I going to have to do? But he's got to be one of my favorites to work with. I really love working with Jade as well because I love her bodysuits and stuff like that. And I also love working with Sammy because Sammy just would say, I need new gear. And he's not like, oh, I need it to be this color, I need to be this, and this. He doesn't know. So I get to literally go to the fabric store or my fabric closet and show him all the different fabrics. And I'll send him pictures. And I'm like, I like them all. I'm not going to show him anything that I don't like. So whichever one he picks, I'm not going to go wrong. Okay. So whatever one I show him all these different ones, and whichever one he picks, I'll make it work. And then I try to find the most fun inside lining piece I can put on the inside that'll catch him by surprise. And I love it when he vlogs about it. So yeah, I love to put something that's crazy on the inside. So I love that he allows me to do that. And it's fun. It's like a serious business on the outside, but party on the inside. I'm gonna always love that. I'm always love that.
Love it. So obviously you're really close with Cody and Brandy Rhodes, and obviously I believe they had quite a big part in bringing you over to AEW. Just curious, obviously, how proud are you of Cody now? He's going to be kind of headlining WrestleMania.
I'm super proud of him for headlining WrestleMania. And yes, when he brought me to AEW, that was a really big deal because he didn't hesitate. It was like, this is going to be your department. And it just made me feel so good. And I was so proud of him for doing that, for giving that opportunity. And I'm like, I have to just always make sure I do the very best that I can do for every single person that asks me to do gear or whatever they need. I have to come because this department is representing his trust and his faith in me, and I never want to let him down. And I don't think I ever have. And so the day that he left, I found out about it. I was on my way somewhere in the airport, and it literally made me cry. I was so upset and just heartbroken the fact that he wouldn't be there anymore because he gifted me this position. He trusted me with this position, so it meant a lot to me. So I planned to carry on and everything, but the fact that he wasn't going to be there anymore, it literally made me cry. So I was in the airport, literally in tears. I was very upset about that. And I didn't understand. And I probably still don't. I don't even have to understand because if it was, I know he's not going to do anything, making the decisions that major unless he's given it a lot of thought. So I respect him for the decisions that he made. And I'm so, so proud of him right now. It's like I'm watching my son, I'm watching my baby on the biggest screen on the planet. And so, of course, it is my esteemed privilege to be the one that's making sure he looks damn good every step of the way coming down that ramp. Right. So I'm super proud of him for that. And I can't wait to see it. And yes, I will be sitting back and watching WrestleMania with my glass of wine.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So obviously, while we're sort of slightly touching on the subject, obviously, given the career you've had, are there any sort of people you've ended up forming, like I suppose particularly close friendships with outside of just sort of the business position?
Close friends with outside of the business. Um, Not really close friendships. I've never had incident with anyone during the course of my whole career, and I'm super proud of that. And if I had to say anyone that I feel the most friendship with outside of work, would probably have to be Trinity.
Yeah.
Probably have to be her, because that girl is sat on my floor in my sewing room plenty of nights. We're trying to come up with crazy gears and her trying to get me to do stuff. And I'm like, I can't do this. It's not going to work. And we end up laughing and talking, having a sip of wine. I'm like, okay, I'll do it. But probably her, I would have to say. And I feel really close with Cody as well.
Yeah.
Probably because doing all of working with him for so long and working with his brother and knowing and working with his father, I feel really close to them. And I guess him putting so much trust in me with such huge projects, it just makes me, I just feel proud of that. And
Yeah, of course.
feel really proud of that. I feel close to them. Yeah. So pretty much those people, if they want it, they can get it. When they need something, I'm here for them, regardless of where I'm working. So, yeah.
Obviously, you mentioned Trinity, and obviously Total Divas. You became sort of a fan favorite on that show. I remember seeing where Trinity was having like a music video, and you were kind of like
oh God, that
the
music video. That music video was fun. Like I said, all of that was the first for me. The whole being on Total Divas thing, it was the first for me. And the only way, they didn't seek me out specifically to be on that show. At that particular time at WWE, I was sewing for every single girl that was chosen to be on that show. So quite naturally, they would have interactions with me. So that's the only way that happened. And looking back, it was a lot of fun. But that music video, I know certain things for a fact that's going to work because of the business that I do, sewing. Trinity thinks she knows more than I do. So I had to just set the little girl straight. You can't, the way I wanted to do it, and the way she wanted to do it, it was just two totally different things. So in the end, when I wanted to put the rhinestones on it, I guess I wasn't doing it fast enough to please Her Majesty. So she decided to take it home. And I'm like, now I know I'm going to stretch out the fabric, put the crystals on so it can go back and move together. So she takes it home and decided that she's going to spend the whole night doing crystals. So she did. So the next day, we're ready for the music video, and I see the outfit. It's cute, but I know something's going to happen. So the minute she puts it on, bend over, it cracks all the way up the butt. It just cracks because the glue, it just made everything hard, and it didn't move. So it was such a panic that day. And where we were doing the shoot at, across the street was a dry cleaner. I didn't think to come with my needle and thread and all that stuff because everything was done. So I run over there, grab a needle and thread, and I come back and I'm literally stitching in her crotch, stitching where the rip was. Well, if she had to listen, we wouldn't have had a rip in the first place. And I hope you hear this, Trinity, okay? But it was all good looking back on it. It worked, and it was a really cool video, and it was a lot of fun working with her on it. But they should listen to me. I know I'm going to tell you stuff that I know, so you should listen.
Yeah, leave it.
So obviously, while we're mentioning Trinity, as I understand it, you actually made her real life wedding dress.
I did not. I did not. I did not
Right.
make her real life wedding dress. I went to the wedding in Maui. Thanks for the trip, Total Divas. But I didn't make that dress. I did some tweaking on that dress, and I went to make sure. I went sure to make sure that everything was okay. That there were no, last minute fixes needed to be done. Because if it was, I was Johnny on the spot, ready to handle it in Hawaii. So, but I did not make that dress. But I was there for when she needed me.
Right, oh, there you go.
Fascinating.
Set the record
Yeah.
straight for myself then.
There's belief. I think on the internet it references Trinity, and then obviously Penelope's dress that you made for AEW. It's the dresses you made, so that needs to be correct. So obviously, as you said, as well as like wrestling gear, you do make clothing of all kinds. Obviously, you've had kind of fashion shows and things and vintage, and obviously you had your own kind of store, or maybe still do, Sandra Gray Originals. What are the kind of favorite pieces that aren't wrestling gear that you like to create?
Favorite wrestling gears?
No, like favorite pieces that aren't wrestling gear. So like,
Like going back to the gowns and that sort of thing.
Oh, by far, my favorite pieces to create would have to be the vintage pieces, the 1940s and 50s. And I'm going to tell you how that came to be, because it's not like I grew up wanting to do 50s fashions or anything. I was born in the 50s, but, you know, like I said, everything was like accidental, the whole sewing thing. But the way that came to be would have been early in the 2000s, I believe. And I was going through breast cancer and chemotherapy. And at the time, I thought I wasn't doing vintage stuff then when I was going through my chemo and stuff. I was making different type of clothes. It was like club clothes and stuff like dresses, of course, but it was basically club clothes was going to be my thing. So it's kind of leading into the costuming thing, I guess. But I can remember this one particular day. Oh, I got to tell you what the name of my company was going to be called back then, because now when I think about it, I'm like, girl, what were you thinking? It was going to be called, listen, guys, it was going to be called Hoochie Couture. Who would put those two words together? Who would put those two words together? I don't even know where that came from. But the reason I thought that was because it was really cute stuff. It wasn't showing too much, just enough, made very well, very sexy. But I was going to be Miss Hoochie Couture, okay? I guess God said that's not happening on my watch. So I can clearly remember having all of these things in my sewing room, which was in my garage at the time, outfits that I had made and stuff like that. And I went to my room one morning, and I had a dose of chemo a few days before. Not saying that the two are related, but that was what I was going through at the time. So I can remember walking into my room, and I just felt this weird chill or something that it's like just shook in my spirit, and I don't even know how to explain it. But everything I was doing was not what I wanted to do anymore. For whatever reason, I still don't know. And that day, I mean, it was so strong. I just got rid of everything. All the pictures came down. The clothes got put away. I just did not want to see that. And that day, I just started thumbing through books and just looking through things. And I just loved, my love for pinup and vintage happened that day. It's the way that the body was clothed, the way the women carried themselves. It was just so elegant, and I just loved it. I just love that when I watch the old movies and I watch a woman walk down the street facing a man, the man would literally step out the way so that she could pass. I loved all of that, this elegance of it all. So I'm like, I want to make that. I want to show that. Yeah. So I just started doing things, just making things, just dresses and skirts, and that love for that era just really started to develop. And I just delved so deep into it that it just became such an extreme passion of mine. And it still is to this day. So I'm still obsessed with vintage clothing to this day. Now, I don't think I'm ever going to get these people today to wear these clothes, but I'm giving it my best shot. And it's not so much to bring back what happened back in the 50s. It was just the elegant look. And the message to me behind the whole thing is you don't have to show all of your body to be sexy and elegant. You don't. Because back then you could see a hand or some ankles or anything, and it's like, or a little neck, and it's like, oh, wow, okay. But, I don't, it's just, I just love all of that, Yeah. It just makes me want to just grab onto my pearls right now and twist them. I'm so excited about talking about it. So that's a great, deep passion of mine. And I definitely plan on pursuing that whole Be A Bombshell thing, which is my brand. I definitely plan on pursuing that, but doing it in a more modern way, but still bringing back some of the elegance from back in the day.
Yeah, that'd be awesome to see.
You're gonna see it. You're gonna see it. Just keep watching,
Yeah.
okay? You're gonna see it. And I'm gonna make it my business to put it on wrestlers in particular, because they're like the polar opposite of what I'm trying to do as far as, you know, the way you dress and everything. Of course, it's 2023, and I'm trying to get you to not look like 1950, but I want the elegance.
Yeah.
I want the elegance. I want that to come back. I want the, you know, the all of that. I want to bring all of that back. I want the pinky finger sipping out when you're like putting your gloves on. I want all that. I want the pearls, all of that. So I'm gonna get somebody in an outfit. Just wait and see.
Love it. So obviously you've been able to do a fair bit of traveling with your work with each of the companies actually. Do you have a particular favorite place you've enjoyed traveling to? And additionally, have you ever had the chance to come over to the UK?
Oh yes, I've been to the UK several times. I was very excited to go to the UK. I couldn't believe I was going to the UK. My first time was with WWE, and they would go. I believe it might have been November and April. So I used to go like twice a year. And by the time I came on board with WWE, the ladies that worked there before me, they had been going so much, they were happy to just to send me. So I was like, oh wow, I'm gonna go to the UK. It was so fun. And I love that when I got there, they already had everything already set up pretty much. So it was like a welcoming, people were welcoming you to be there. And all of this is new to me. It was just a big deal to get off the plane and see someone with a card with your name on it. That's where you're supposed to go. So I'm like, this is easy. I can do this. So then you get there and you're with your people that you work with anyway. It was just a lot of fun. The crew over there was always so welcoming and fun to be there. And I went quite a few times. So I got used to them. They got used to me. And it got to be a lot of fun. I looked forward to going over there. I really look forward to it. And I love I love flying, so it was a good long flight. So I love that. Yeah, that was fun.
Do you ever get to? I know obviously you're going there for work, but do you get to do a bit of sightseeing when you're over there? Have you managed to visit any of the places?
I just really would get there early in the morning after flying all night and take a quick nap and just get up, put on some clothes, and just hit the streets and just walk around and go. And I was pretty excited to see T-Mobile. Some of the things I see here, I saw over there, you know. So I just walked around and not going too far because I didn't want to get lost going back to the hotel, but I would just go around just by myself looking for the first, you know, for my first couple times. So I did a little bit.
Awesome.
Shopping was good.
I mean, obviously quite fashionable, especially in like London. Places like
shopping was good. Yeah.
You mentioned before, obviously, when you joined WCW and like obviously going to find the print CD because you like to listen to music, and we've seen on like Total Divas and things, you know, headphones in and listening to music. What are some of your favorite things to listen to? Obviously, Prince. What else?
My favorite music?
Yeah, to listen to while you're kind of sewing.
I love when I'm in my own workspace, I love listening to a different variety of music. But my particular favorite is would have to be some of the old school 1970s R&B. I love it. I even have a record player in my sewing space with a stack of albums, vinyls from the 70s that I used to listen to, and I still play them every once in a while. And I love that, but I also love different types of music. I love country music. I love pop. I even have a little big band sometimes when I'm feeling my vintage spirit. But I like to listen to something that everybody around me when I'm in the workplace, like at work, can listen to and enjoy. So I lean more into like the 80s and the 80s and 90s, but then I'll sneak a little bit of my 70s music in there because it's new to their ears. They're like, oh, okay. I think they might like it a little bit. And it's something that's not offensive to anybody.
Yeah.
So I just like, and I like to play it loud too. I like it loud until somebody like want me to turn it down. So I'm going to be blasting my music wherever I am with my sewing machine, doing my thing.
Awesome.
In my elements.
So obviously we've, as well as seeing your creations in real life on TV, you've had them featured in the likes of video games, obviously action figures, which I can see behind you there. So
Oh yeah,
I'm just wondering,
that's my
have
wall
you?
of fame.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic to be fair. Have you actually? Is it still kind of a surreal experience when you sort of see your creations out and about, and like when you see an action figure or when you see them on like a video game or something featured in that sense? Is that something you get used to, or is that still a bit surreal when you encounter that?
It's absolutely a thing that you get used to. I mean, the in the beginning when I first saw that, it was like a really big deal, and it still is a big deal. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not like overly excited because you can see I've got quite a few of them, but you just get used to it, and
Yeah,
I just expect, is this going to be the one that's going to make an action figure? Is this going to
yeah,
be interesting enough to be the one that's going to be in a video game? So I still think that's very cool. I'm going to always think that, because it's not everybody that gets, to get to do that. So that is a big deal. But you definitely get used to it.
yeah.
I mean, you can still have the same excitement after this many to the first couple ones.
Of course,
So
as
yeah,
you
but
say,
I
it's
still
still
do.
an amazing thing.
I
Um,
love it. And I love it when they capture all the details. I love that. Yeah.
yeah, I never considered it like that. So I suppose that's when you pick up an action figure, is that something you look for to see if they've managed to pick up on the details?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, they've been pretty good capturing pretty much most of them.
yeah.
Most of the details. I love it.
So we've got to ask, have you got any advice for any kind of aspiring, designers or seamstresses that you'd like to give?
Um, Thinking back about my career, and my advice now would probably be, if you are aspiring to do this, any type of sewing or whatever, be fearless. Be absolutely fearless, because if you do something, if you take a chance, plug up that machine and do something, if you don't get it right, if you majorly screw up something, what are you going to get? A learning experience. So it's not going to be wrong, because you've learned something. And that one thing that you've learned, you're never going to do that again, because but had you not taken the chance and jumped and done that, you wouldn't even know. So just be fearless and just go for whatever it is that you think you might want to do. And you're going to find your tribe of people that will be willing to pour into you, help you, advise you along the way, and help you with your journey. But just be fearless is my main thing. Because now looking back, I don't remember being scared. And that's probably of the wrestling stuff. And that's probably because I already had my experience sewing, making my mistakes. The very first thing I made was in the 70s, and it was a pair. You guys are too young to even know about this, but it was back when they were wearing hot pants, literally like a pair of shorts. They probably call them booty shorts now, but they were hot pants. And mine was a pair of, the first thing was, it was a pair of denim. I don't know what made me pick such a tough thing to try. It was denim fabric, but because I don't know what I'm doing, I'm a teenager. I don't know how to. So I picked these hot pants to make, and I can remember it was a vest that was like panels and the hot pants, and I didn't know anything about finishing the inside. It was a massive, ugly mess of strings and threads hanging on the inside, but I was able to. Denim does not stretch. So I made it, it was a little tight. So I was able to shimmy myself into this little outfit and wiggle my way into my parents' room for them to like, look what I made. And I remember them telling me, that's good. It wasn't good, but thank you, Mom, anyway. But they encouraged me. They encouraged me. And that little bit of encouragement just made me want to go back and just take it another step, just do something bigger and better the next time. And I think that's what I still do in my career. If I do something that's like amazing, I'm going to try to outdo myself the next
Yeah.
time. So I am the one I'm trying to outdo, the next time. But be fearless, baby. That's what I would say. You'll
Yeah,
learn from your mistakes. Be fearless.
it's brilliant. Such a positive message.
Yeah.
So that pretty much sort of wraps it up for our questions. The last thing I'd ask, if you don't mind, would be if you could tell our audience how they can keep up to date with your good self and the sort of the work you've got via social media and the like.
Yes, SGO Vintage, Instagram SGO Vintage, also Bee A Bombshell, and I'm working on my website right now, which would be called Bee A Bombshell Boutique, and there you'll be able to go and purchase my vintage pieces and stuff. It's in the works right now. So, and Twitter, Sandra Gray Originals, SGO Vintage.
Sandra,
Okay.
thank you so much. This has been.
But look out for me. Just because I'm not on the road traveling doesn't mean I'm not still doing cool things. Okay.
Of course.
So
Oh yeah,
watching.
we'll be watching.
Watching.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it, Sandra.